Good evening. This is the Blazer News Network, or the BNN Podcast. I'm your host, Jarek Martinez, co-editor for The Blazer. The podcast is for the week of February 12th. Let's go ahead and highlight some news from around the world.
Shinzo Abe was quick to start building a relationship, being the first world leader to meet President Trump after his election victory. Now, 3 months on, there will be 2 full days of talks, dinners, and even golf.
The first thing Mr. Abe wants to achieve is to establish the personal relationship and the personal trust.
Donald J. Trump!
It will go a long way in easing Japanese concerns raised during the rough and tumble of Donald Trump's election campaign.
Like many other countries, Japan often found itself on the receiving end of a Trump tongue-lashing, accused of currency manipulation and blocking the Japanese market to US imports, especially cars. Even worse was the suggestion that Japan should be paying more for the protection provided by US forces based here, casting doubt on the military alliance that has existed for decades.
Reassurances by US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis during his visit to Japan last week that the alliance remains strong have come as a relief. But given the growing threat to Japan from its neighbors, Abe wants to hear the same commitment from the president himself.
Prime Minister Abe is trying to seek President Trump's reassuring statement to defend Japan from North Korean threat and also Chinese coercion.
With Trump's threat of raising import tariffs on Japanese cars into the US, there's a danger of relations turning sour.
It is possible that Japan and the US could turn away from free trade and move towards protectionism.
But Abe knows the importance of playing to Trump's Make America Great Again cause, and he comes bearing gifts. He's expected to announce investments in the US that will generate hundreds of thousands of jobs, so we may see Trump tweeting his approval of his good friend and ally, Abe. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Tokyo.
After meeting with Japan's Prime Minister Friday, President Donald Trump ensures that the United States is committed in Japan's security, according to BBC. Speaking of Trump, the president also announced on the same Friday that he will unveil some new security measures to keep America safe. Again. As for an update on the immigration ban, Trump tweeted a disgraceful decision in reaction to an appeals court decision against his proposed travel ban this past week, according to USA Today. The Trump administration attempted to restore the ban, only for it to be rejected by the appeals court. Stephen Miller, senior advisor for Trump, defends the ban in an interview with ABC.
Well, as you know, we have multiple options, and we are considering all of them. We can appeal the emergency stay to the Supreme Court. We can take our case en banc to the Ninth Circuit. We can continue the appeal with the panel, or we can return to the district court and have a trial on the merits.
Which are you going to do?
Additionally, we can pursue further executive actions. All options are on the table. The point I want to make to you, George, and the point I want to make to your listeners is that we have equal branches of government in this country. The judiciary is not supreme. A district judge in Seattle cannot force the President of the United States to change our laws and our Constitution because of their own personal views. The President has the power under the INA, Section 212F, 8 U.S.C. 1182F, to suspend the entry of aliens when it's in the national interest. He has that same power under his Article 2 powers to conduct the foreign affairs of our country, and we will do whatever we need to do, consistent with the law, to keep this country safe.
I know you hope to prevail, but you haven't prevailed yet. And a lot of your allies think the best move would be to replace the current executive order with a new one that exempts legal permanent residents and visa holders who've already been admitted to the country. Are you thinking along these lines?
Well, the existing order does exempt legal permanent residents, and legal permanent residents were not subject to the travel restrictions.
Well, that was a guidance put out by the White House counsel. It wasn't formally in the executive order.
Well, it was the guidance put out by the White House counsel because that was the meaning of the executive order, and that was the same fact that caused the Boston judge to issue the positive ruling that they issued. The reality is that this is not a disagreement about the law and the Constitution. There is no constitutional right for a citizen in a foreign country who has no status in America to demand entry into our country. Such a right cannot exist. Such a right will never exist. This is an ideological disagreement between those who believe we should have borders and should have controls, and those who believe there should be no borders and no controls. That's the essence of this debate. And the bottom line is the president's powers in this area represent the apex of executive authority. And we have multiple tools across multiple fronts to ensure that we are preventing terrorist infiltration of our country and to ensure that those who enter our country share our values and support our people, something that is supported overwhelmingly by the vast majority of the American public.
Ideological disagreement, personal opinion of the judge, those are your words right there. It sounds like you're calling into question the legitimacy of this judge.
I'm calling into question the accuracy of the ruling. For instance, the district judge in Seattle said that there was no indication of terrorism from these 7 countries in our country. That is a factually false statement. We know there's at least several dozen, perhaps many more than that, cases of terrorism from these countries that have happened in the United States in terms of terroristic plots, terroristic activity, material support for terrorism, supporting terrorism overseas, all different kinds of terroristic activity that's been interdicted in the United States, tracing back to these 7 countries.
Moving on, with the impending war between antibiotics and bacteria coming slowly into the latter's favor, new research brings forth a startling discovery. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem discovered that bacteria have an incredible way of evolving resistance to antibiotics by simply sleeping. Using this sleep mechanism, the bacteria can literally wake up and evolve resistance 20 times faster than normal. Much of the key from this research showed that tolerance for bacteria arises rapidly, and the new findings may allow the development of new antibiotics that can target the tolerant bacteria. Now moving on to JJC News. That was the American Idol theme music. To recognize that an open karaoke with a live band at JJC will be held on February 15th. Open singing will be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Center Bridge. A singing competition will also happen from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. with first, second, and third places that will be determined by a panel of our very own judges. Hopefully no Simons. Students must sign up in advance for the contest, so check out the OSA for more details on that. Online nursing applications are available from February 1st to February 15th, so there's about 5 days left. Any information on applying should contact Kathleen Cartwright at 1-815-280-2429. Closing off BNN for the night, check out our latest issue of the Blazer newspaper, out now. Keep tabs on our YouTube at the JJC Blazer channel, news by the students and for the students. Be sure to also check out our website at jjcblazer.com, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at jjc_blazer. Have a great night, and be sure to check every Monday or Sunday of each week for daily updates from BNN.